What is up, Equine Edge? Brady Klotz here with my co-host Mike Somich, here to give you another edition of Good Chalk, Bad Chalk. Tonight we're covering Sam Houston Race Course in the late pick 4. Mike, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well, man. I'm excited. I love me some Sam Houston, and I hear you may be converted to a lover of the Sam Houston Race Park as well. The 12% takeout matters, and you can single favorites as long as you get some prices, can't you, Brady?
Hey, you know, when you get beat up at Gulfstream Park all day long last Saturday, and you come home and Sam Houston, as soon as the clock hit midnight, we hit the pick 5, and it was like a $32,000 score. We had a small percentage of the ticket, but shout out to CEO and the lock for helping putting that ticket together and cashing a big one for the good guys.
I love it, man. It's one of those tracks, and I love the smaller racetracks with low takeout because you can single favorites as long as you spread around and you find some prices. You guys got a $70 horse home in the last race to get that big $31,000 score. You get 2 of those horses in a sequence, no matter what your single is. I don't care if they're 1 to 9. You're going to eliminate so many tickets in those 2 races, and it can really turn out to be a huge payday. I remember during the pandemic, I hit a $17,000 pick 5 at Will Rogers Downs with Welder as a single. Welder doesn't lose at Will Rogers Downs. Like,
he's the most singled horse in the sequence. Yeah, these
totally.
late night tracks, you know, sometimes they get neglected. Sometimes you can do a pool job at these places too.
Oh, yeah.
And I think we had a pool job available to the 5. It was paying like $91,000. The 7 was the second top choice at $31,000, $32,000. And we joked afterwards, we're like, maybe they swapped that horse for Nick's Go because that's what that horse looked like.
Well, you guys missed your calling on the pick 6. 4 out of 6 paid that night. 4 out of 6. So your 5 was already the only ticket.
We should have gotten home earlier. That's all I know. It was a late night in Miami, and I'll tell you what, it is possible to stay out till 5 a.m. in Miami because that's what we did. What is up,
especially
oldie,
after you win
everybody?
$32,000.
Yeah, I know, right? It's like, oh, this game's easy. It was funny. We were all kind of sitting around at dinner. We're like defeated. And we're like, man, this sucks. Like, we can't hit anything. It's like you handicap all day, and then, like, you know, something happens. You get a scratch, or, you know, your horse doesn't break. And then it's like, oh, well, you can just scoop a pick 5. So it was good. So what is up, viewers? We missed you last week. Been doing some traveling. I was down at the Florida Derby last week. Crazy week at Gulfstream, actually. And actually a pretty great race. We'll talk about the Florida Derby a little bit and how we think Wida Barrio might do going forward. And then maybe some of the other horses that we're tossing now that we thought would have been Derby contenders. But we're going to give you live Sam Houston races. We're going to construct a pick 4 ticket for you. And then we'll talk a little Keeneland. We'll talk a little Kentucky Derby. And then maybe a little bit of Masters. Let us know who you guys have in the Masters. I know Mike's trying to get Dustin Johnson home here for the first round leader. So, Dustin, it's time to make some birdies.
Yeah, let's birdie 18, DJ. Come on.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, let's dive in right to the pick 4 now. I'll add Equine Edge to the screen here. We're going to the last 4 races at Sam Houston, starting a mile on the turf. Allowance non-winners lifetime 1, 3-year-olds and up. Mike, this was a pretty deep race. I felt like there was a number of different ways you could go. Did you go skinny here, or did you spread?
I spread in this spot. And look, I think you could go skinny if you want. I think you get through here with 3. I'm going to end up using 5 horses in this spot. One of the things on Sam Houston you're looking for is speed, and especially on that turf course, man. That turf course holds speed extremely well. When you sort here by the Equine Edge pace number, you'll see the 6 comes up as the speed. I 100% agree with that. My 2 other pace numbers agree with it as well. I think the 6 is going to get out there and going to be tough. You get Lane Luzzy for Caldwell, really good jockey trainer combo, 23%. And then on top of that, guess who our top GSR in this spot is? Oh, it's the 6 horse. So we get to go right there. We got lone speed, we got good jockey trainer, we got top GSR, and we're sitting on a 15-1 number on the morning line. Currently, we've got that down a little bit to 7-1, but I think that's still a pretty fair price here on the 6. So I have the 6 as my top pick here off that 15-1 morning line. The 14 horse who has the ability to sit right off the pace and pounce turned out to be my second choice here. I like the fact that we've got that nice GSR with the 63 there, and the horses run pretty well going 2 turns. I think we're going to be forwardly placed, similar to that race 3 back there. We were able to stalk and finish the job. Not a huge fan of Asmussen on turf, especially when it gets over bet. But I think this horse is getting fairly bet. I think 3-1, 4-1 is the right range for the 14. So for me, those are the 2 must-use horses. Did you get a chance to take a look at the race? Where were you headed here?
I did. I did like the 14 horse. I felt like the 14 was going to trip out. If the 6 gets loose on the lead, the 6 is going to be very dangerous. And I like your point. It's half of its morning line right now. 15-1 is what EE had, and so did the track announcer. We're getting 8-1 right now. We're getting the top GSR. We're getting the top pace figure by 13 points. So that's definitely something to pay attention to. We'll see how easy of a lead the 6-horse gets. If there is a little bit of pace pressure, say the 3 or the 8 may go as well. Then maybe we've got the 14 sitting in and behind. You cannot forget about Elliott and Asmussen pairing up together. It is a little bit weird on the turf. I know Asmussen's not usually known for that, but he won a few races at Kentucky Downs this summer on the turf. And so really, I mean, he's just a great trainer through and through. I was a little surprised at some of the horses that weren't getting some attention. For instance, this 9-horse, we have it as 6-1 and we have a 19% win, but the horse is 19-1 on the board. And so if you're looking for maybe a live long shot, I was looking at the 9 here a little bit that maybe is going to provide some value here. And then you always have to look at the long shot play, Sweet Medicine here. This is the other horse that has sprint distance, is going to route. We're switching surfaces again. And this is the one I think that can maybe apply some pace pressure, and you're getting 16-1.
Yeah, this is one that I think you have to use. This was my next horse up. So I ended up going 5 deep here. This was the 4th horse on the ticket. I love the fact that we're floating up off the 12-1 morning line. I'm pretty surprised by that. We've got Weffy Jr. here in the saddle, one of the top jockeys there. And look, he's coming off a race that got rained off the turf. We're getting back onto the turf. And if you look back to late last year, we've got numbers in here that 100% fit with this group at a monster price. I like the fact that we're drawn inside of all the competitors as well. You want to make sure you're toward the rail on this turf course. Obviously, I think the 6 will be able to get there. I think the 3 is going to be able to sit right behind the 6-horse here with that 10-horse sitting outside of the 3 in 2nd and 3rd spots. I think the 3 could definitely get first run here off the inside, save some ground, and make a move. And 17-1 is a generous price. I mean, I think this is a logical spread race because the 10 and the 14 are going to be your favorites. I think you want to use both of them because I think they're logical winners. But they're definitely not horses where I really want to, plop a large amount of money down at short prices. This 10 specifically, you look at the last couple races, been very close to the pace. That's been a very slow pace. When you go back and look at it, we're talking 25, 50, 49 halves. We're not going to go 50 or 49. The 10's going to have to pass horses. That's not something he's great at doing.
No, he's a pack runner when he's around other horses. And, he's gotten some easy leads when he's done well. But if you look at where he hasn't gotten a lead, he doesn't really pass horses. So he's really not a factor. So this is a horse that I would look at trying to beat, obviously, in a multi-race sequence. You're getting a lukewarm favorite at 3-1. This will probably change a few more times between the 10 and the 14. I think we got to look at the other horse that's getting some money and some attention, the 1 horse, Truly Danzig as well. EE has this horse 6-1 off of a 15-1 morning line. It shows you how good the EE morning line really is because the live odds are in tandem almost at 9-2. So, EE had this one where maybe the morning line odds maker had missed something here. This is going to come from off the pace. We're going to need a little bit of a setup here. And I always like sprint to route for horses, especially on the turf, to show extra speed. So maybe the 3 is being a little bit overlooked because they're looking at the dirt race and the last turf route. But hey, we get 5 furlongs on the turf before we've gone 6.5 on the dirt. So this horse definitely has sprinter speed compared to route speed.
Yeah, and this is a muddy form, which often means that horses float up. I mean, it's tough to kind of focus in on what races you really want to point to and say that's definitely the race I want to bet or the race I'm going to hope that horse runs back to. With the 3, you've got an off-the-turf race, you've got a turf sprint, you've got a 1.16 which is longer that horse wants to go. And so you got all these different reasons to kind of dismiss the 3 on the form. But when you dig deeper, the 7.5 and mile races definitely fit with this. You mentioned the 1. I think the 1's interesting. The 1 came out of a state bred race at this level last time, and now we're in open company. The other problem with that race, you see this great closing kick there, 7th and gets up to win. Well, they went 22.46. They're not going to go that fast today. And they went 1:11, and then they came home to 1:37. So they went 26 seconds for those last 2 furlongs. That's very slow. So that's why this horse is able to make up that type of ground. I'm afraid you're not going to get that same pace set up here. And if so, it's going to be tough for the 1 to get the job done.
Yep, absolutely. Mike, let's move on to the second leg here. Race 7, we've still got some minutes, and there's a little bit of a post drag at Sam Houston. We're going 6 furlongs on the dirt, 4-year-olds and up claiming. This is a short field, only 5 horses now. And it looks like the betting is going to still be, a little bit spread out. But we got Broberg and Eckleberry, which are a dynamic duo, especially at Sam Houston. Mike, were you able to single here, or is this one where you're going to try to maybe use the favorite and also maybe use one other to try to beat?
So on my press tickets, I singled through the 8. I think that the 8 and the 7 are the two horses you really have to use here. You mentioned it's not just Broberg off the claim; it's Broberg off the claim coming from Fairgrounds. So you have what I believe is a pretty nice drop in class here. You don't see a huge drop from 58 to 56 in the strength of race, but then when you take into account the fact that we've scratched down to 5 horses here, I think that drops the strength of race a little bit as well. I would have been a little more worried with the full field in here. Your boy Ernie Banker, I know you know Ernie Banker there, was scratched out of this spot. He was that horse that got it done for you on that close.
That's right.
Some of the better horses moved away from this spot. This 5 horse I think is interesting, but the 5 horse has been a turf horse through and through. I'm not sure how well we're going to be able to do now switching over to the dirt. You see that last race was pretty awful there, missing by 15 lengths. So for me here, I think the 8 is the horse to beat. I think the 7 is the one that has a shot at beating it. I'm going to go too deep in my 50-cent ticket I'm going to give out, but I singled the 8 in my press stuff.
Yeah, I agree. And you talk about the Fairgrounds form. I think Fairgrounds actually had maybe the best winter meet out of any of the winter tracks. If we look at how Louisiana Derby Day went and how the Risen Star Day went, the local horses were really doing well. The shippers really weren't doing well. And so when we had Gulfstream horses coming to Fairgrounds, we had New York horses coming to Fairgrounds. I mean, everybody was shipping there for the big days, and the local horses really showed out. So I think one thing to take note of going forward is, especially now that we're into Keeneland starting tomorrow, look at the Fairground shippers. That stretch run is one of the longest in racing in the United States. And so I think their horses are just built better, their stamina is better, and they're tested against full fields. You know, not often are you getting 3 and 4 horse, 5 horse fields at Fairgrounds. And so I think it's a huge upgrade when I see a Fairgrounds horse shipping in somewhere like Sam Houston or shipping into Keeneland. EE says we're going to get even money on this horse. I think that's probably pretty accurate. This horse is a 9-year-old, been around a long time, 33 lifetime starts. And so this is kind of like the Brasstown Hero Tiger and Trapezoid group of Gulfstream Park. I thought the 7 Rosie's Outlaw was also interesting. We're coming back to dirt again. We're 2 back. We won on dirt against this level 56 SOR. And so I felt like, you know, the horse tripped out last time. You don't get Eckleberry this time, though. You get Stuart Elliott. And so, you know, I thought that was interesting that Eckleberry chose to stay on the 8 over the 7. The 8 just might be better than these. His 8's clearly raced against better horses. Outside the 7 and the 8, I really couldn't make a case. But we got to look at this 5 here, Tin Badge. I don't usually see this big of a discrepancy of 15-1 morning line down to a 3-1 EE morning line. And so from a pace scenario, it looks like this horse is going to be sitting 2nd or 3rd. Looks like it might be excusing a few trips here. This is one where, you know, they've gone route on the turf, they've sprinted on the turf, they sprinted on the dirt, they've gone route on the dirt. And so, you know, what is this horse really? Looks like last time it was a no effort. But I thought that was interesting, 3-1 morning line on the EE.
Yeah, the horse is tough to make out. I mean, look, we've got, if you go back and you look at the form, this horse has not been entered on any other surface except for turf since May 2nd, 2021. Now, 5 of those races have ended up on the dirt because it's been rained off. So he's kind of been a off-turf specialist when we've seen him on the dirt. This is a straight dirt race. So this is dirt horses entered for dirt versus turf horses who run on the dirt, which I think is a very big difference because, like you'll see on the dirt, this 7 or 5 horse is 6 for 26. However, a lot of those races were supposed to be turf races, and he wasn't beating big fields, and he wasn't beating dirt horses. And I think that's an important caveat that you have to look at.
That's a good point there, because oftentimes the fields are scratched down to maybe 4 or 5 horses that were supposed to go on the turf, or maybe he was an alternate, an AE in some of those as well. So looks like we're probably going pretty skinny here. I think we could single the 8, if not maybe 7-8 there.
Yep, I agree.
All right, let's move on to race 8 now. This is a main special weight going 6 furlongs. Mike, where are we going here?
Yeah, we'll be pretty quick here. We got about 2 minutes left, and I'm going to go pretty deep in the last leg. So sort by the pace here, and that's how you're going to get to my horses. So when we look at the pace numbers, we've got 2 obvious standouts here, the 2 and the 4. If you click on them, you'll notice they both love to quit when they face any pressure. So the fact that both of them are in this race is a problem for the other one. This is going to be what I call a heart attack race. I like the 9 on top, and look at where the 9 is.
Dead last.
all the way at the bottom.
Let's go.
It is a logical closer in my mind. And I think that this horse is going to be absolutely flying late. I don't mind the distance at 6 furlongs. I think we got a decent shot at being able to just run down these top 2 horses that just don't like to win. I have zero interest in the 2. Don't use the 2. To me, the 4 is the elite speed. So if you're going to use one, use the 4 horse. If you're not going to, use the 8. Other horse I like here is the 9. 12-1 morning line. This is another horse I think is going to benefit from that hot pace. I think this is the best of those middling horses. So when I handicapped this, I said, hey, look, I want the best closer. That's the 9. And I want the best horse who's probably going to get first run. To me, that's the 8. So I went 8-9 on my 50-cent ticket. If you want to go skinnier in the first leg or the last leg, or play, a ticket that costs a little bit more, I go 4-8-9. But I'm going to try and beat both of the chalks here.
Good. And we get 24% win on the 9 here. I was really strong on the 9. When I like looking at the pace number, if you see somebody that's 10, 20 points an advantage, that's a lone speed scenario. We have 2 speed horses that are going to absolutely not give an inch to each other on the front end. This is going to set the perfect pace scenario for the 9. Mike, let's go to the 9th race here real quick. I think we got to go pretty deep here in this leg. This is the leg that we're going to get paid in. If we sort by pace here, it looks like here we go again. We have another scenario where we've got 3, maybe 4 horses that are all going to be gunning on the front end. It looks like that the 13 might be the strongest of the horses that are going to the front. If the 13 can maybe sit, I like the 13 here. But Mike, I got to think you like another horse off the pace.
Well, the 13 was my single here on my press ticket. So one of the things, if you click on the 13 there, respect the hell out of Calhoun anytime he brings a horse to Sam Houston. He is exceptional at Sam Houston. Alvarez gets the mount. That's his top jockey. Those 2 are deadly together. You'll note the only time this horse's turf sprint was at Fairgrounds in that super long stretch, and he actually cleared the field there. So a ton of respect here for the 13. I think this is a deserving favorite. However, the 9 and the 7 are cheap speed. And it could set up for someone flying late. In my mind, the 12 horse was the second pick here. You're getting a big number at 8-1. Equinedge doesn't love it as much at the 40-1 Equinedge number there. But this is one of those horses that I think just kind of fits here. I like Tracy. I like Melanson. And the fact that this horse can sit and pounce, specifically that effort 4 back at 4.5. Yeah, I realize wasn't great, but if you go, or wasn't that long of a race. But that race showed the ability to be able to sit off the pace and get the job done. And then if you click on level there for me real quick, you'll note that this is a horse that's kind of dropping in class here. So I feel like we're going from this horse wins a $30,000 maiden special weight, then is in $150,000 stakes races, runs in a $36,000 allowance. Now we're dropping in for $25K non-winners of 2 lifetime. Huge drop here, especially with the track switch. So for me, the 13 and the 12 are the top 2 picks. I got my tickets scrolling on the bottom. They're loading into the gate, so I'm just kind of rip through this here real quick. I went 3, 6, 10, 12, 14, with 7, 8, with 8, 9, with 10, 11, 12, 13. That'll cost you $40 total.
There you have it, guys. Loading into the gate now, so hopefully you got the ticket up. We'll keep it scrolling on the bottom. Let's get a price here. Let's get this 3 home. I was thinking maybe the 3 or the 6 here. I was going to play a little bit more of a press ticket with the 6, the 14, and the 3 here. Single the 8. Yeah, I really like that 9. I really like that 9 in race 8 with your pace scenario. I love that. Hopefully we get that collapse. We need both horses to break on the front end, both the 2 and the 4.
Well, that's one of those scenarios where both have to have the lead to win.
Yeah,
and both quit when they're pressed, and so it's going to be, like I said, a heart attack race where you're just hoping that 9 is the one flying. And I think the 4 is faster than the 2. So for me, it was really okay. If I do play either, I'm going to play the 4. But I'm hoping that thing absolutely collapses. You can make a case for the 5 in that spot if you really wanted to. 2 at a monster number. He could also make a move off the pace, but we'll see what we're able to do here. But I like the 6 here at 11-1. Hopefully, we can just wire this field and get this thing off to a real nice price.
Absolutely. And, kind of a lukewarm favorite here on the 14. We're not getting that much money for Asmussen and Elliott, but then again, it is on the turf, and we originally had 14 horses. Now 3-1. So money's going everywhere. 8-5 on the 10. Interesting. I
expected the 10 to go off as a favorite. Your 3 got pounded, went from 22 to 13 in that last flash.
So got hit. My bet. Oh, I can't cancel it now, can I?
So got hit pretty hard, and it looks like our 6 is going to make the lead. So now it's all about if we can just get comfortable here. That 8 is not doing us any favors. That is not awesome. Now the 3 gets the trip out here. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And hopefully this 8 gets spun wide and just stops pressing here because of this first turn.
It looks like he's backed off a little bit. So as long as he just gives us some breathing room with this 6. Yeah, the 3 was 22-1. Now we're 7-1.
Oh, 21-3. And that 8 absolutely rocked that opening first quarter on us, and that's
it looks like the 10's getting a perfect trip in there in 6th. The 14's getting a nice trip as well. see, is that the 3 moving up close? It's kind of hard to see this.
Yeah, the 3 is sitting on the outside.
Right, this is ridiculous. I mean, going 2 turns, 45. Yeah.
And this, I mean, that one horse is going to get another run here if these fractions are accurate. I mean, obviously we got the 6 up front. We got
a ton of horse.
3 right to the outside. We're hoping maybe the 14 can make a big move here. He's starting to split horses there. It looks like mid-pack. The 6 somehow has something left
opening up
now. Well, who's that who just split? Is that the? I can't tell.
Yeah.
The gray horse looks pretty dangerous here. I think there's no way the 6 is going to hold. It's going to be a cavalry charge here coming home. Is that the 9 just made the lead? Okay. And here comes the 4.
Here comes the 14.
Outside. Yeah, it's the
here
14.
Comes the 14. And
so let's just get this 14 home.
But get the 14 home started off. Asmussen Elliott, easy as that. You know, dirt or turf, doesn't matter.
It's one of those examples where the race kind of played out the way we expected. 10 wasn't fast enough to get the lead. The 6 got out there, but the 8 at 57-1 absolutely punishes him. But our other must-use is able to get the job done. I think the 3 really paid the toll there for that opening quarter as well.
Yeah, I think so, because the 3 was very, very close. And I'm just looking at the EE pace number. The EE pace number had the 8 in second at 64. And so, you know, one thing you have to look at, you can look at all the figures you want, but you have to actually handicap the race visually. And you got to think about maybe what the jockey's tactics are going to be. If we look at the 8, I'll go ahead and scroll back over 1 second here to my screen. If we look at the 8 in previous races, this is coming off of dirt sprints. Dirt sprint, dirt sprint, dirt sprint, dirt sprint, dirt sprint. We haven't gone on the turf since 4th of July last year. And so this horse obviously had sprinter speed going long, and now we're going back to the turf. You know, maybe the trainer or the jockey handicapped the race and said, look, the 6, if we let the 6 get alone, we have no chance of winning. Maybe if we can outbreak the 6 and we can go grab the lead, maybe then we can be dangerous. A lot of times, like when we're playing these pick 6s with me and Mike, especially like a course like Gulfstream Park, where you get these 30, 40, 50-1 shots that sometimes get brave and blow up that pick 6 or blow up that pick 5. That's how these bombs usually win. It's usually getting alone on the lead, not seeing another horse the entire trip around. Often they're green, often they're at the claiming level, often they're not the most experienced horses. And so, you know, that's how a lot of handicappers try to get these long shots home is, hey, who's the lone speed that maybe isn't the best horse in the race, but the pace scenario is slow, so I'm just going to go grab the lead and catch me if you can. Yeah,
and that's why 100% of the time, first thing I do is analyze the pace of every race, because that to me is the most important factor over form, over anything else. It's pace first to me, because any horse can win with the right pace setup as long as they're placed reasonably. Obviously, you can't be ridiculous with it. And you know what? Like, I don't like what the 8 did, but I respect what the 8 did. I think Melanson did the right thing on that 8 horse. 0 chance of winning if you don't go to the lead, so you might as well try and go to the lead. Now, unfortunately, that cooked my 6, but you know, at least we got, and the good news, we got 4-1 on that 14 horse. So
that's nice.
Floated up from 8 to 5, and you always hear the opposite. Oh, walked into the gate of 4-1, went across the line at 8 to 5. Well, this one walked in the gate at 8 to 5, crosses the line at 4-1, and starts us off pretty nicely here in a 14 horse field for this, 12 horse field for this pick 4.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And it looks like the 9 got up for second. That's when we mentioned that EE really liked the morning line odds on. This horse was 17-1. EE had it at 6-1. And so, you know, clearly the bettors missed something here. This horse has been going route. It's one of those closing types. He passes horses, unlike the horse we're talking about later on in the sequence here. The pace number had this horse as a 41, but a 19% win. And so that's a pretty high win percentage for a horse going off at 17-1. Hopefully you use that horse underneath. I would imagine that it'll be a decent exacta there.
Way to go, Ashley. That's awesome, man. Way to crush it up there. That's going to be a heck of an exacta there with the 14 over the 9. So that'll pay nicely. So good job, man. Good way to go.
Absolutely.
Yeah. This is one of those tracks. I love this. And if you go back to the 9 real quick, just to help people, just something I want to point out on the Equinedge side here. You'll notice that the GSR doesn't jump, but check out that SOR. So those last 2 races where this horse was especially the last one, pretty competitive, faced SORs of 62 and 58, drops down to 54 today. I mean, that's a decent sized drop there. So I think that was another way that you could kind of point toward that 9 and say, hey, wait a second, you know, the SOR is dropping pretty good and the GSR is holding firm. That means you're probably going to get a little bit better of an effort.
Yep. And using that SOR number to your advantage, you know, a lot of times people will maybe disagree with us sometimes when we say, hey, this horse is facing a lesser group. And other people will be contrarian and say, well, it's still a maiden special weight, or it's still a non-allowance non-winners lifetime one. Well, here's the thing. Every time a horse wins at that level, that horse is no longer at that level anymore. And so now we're facing different horses. And so you could have a horse that's still a maiden that's had 5 tries. Well, let's say the 5 horses that have won those races are world beaters and are going on to win, allowance and stakes races. Now those horses are finally weeded out of that maiden claiming or that maiden special weight group. And now maybe it's just the right setup for that horse. And so, SOR is definitely something to pay attention to. Looks like the Exacta paid $67 for a buck. Tri paid $440, and the Super paid $700. So if you had that 9 and I think the 4 would have been the hardest one for me to get to in that trifecta of the whole group.
And Ashley coming back for $135 Exacta. Congrats. That's awesome, nice. Man. That'll pay for the night, like you said. Grandma Horse Racing, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate you watching the Magic Mike Show and then checking this out. We do Good Chalk, Bad Chalk, hopefully once a week. That's the plan. My man up here has just been a globetrotter and made it a little more difficult to get on here. But we're excited to be back this week. We'll be back next week as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We'll be back early, probably doing early track. I got to catch a flight to Denver. I'm going skiing next weekend, so no horse.
Look at that. You called it, man.
All right. Well, we've got a little time in between the next race here. Viewers, if you guys want us to go over something, we were going to talk a little bit about Keeneland. Keeneland's got some amazing races coming up. If you haven't seen Saturday's card at Keeneland, you need to go check it out right now because we've got some stars coming back. Mike, let's dive into Keeneland for a little bit here, and then maybe we can talk a little bit of Derby prep from the Florida Derby, and maybe our thoughts on White Barrio and some of the preps this weekend. But as soon as my computer updates, we'll get over to Keeneland. We've got the return of Golden Pal, which is exciting. Always fun to see how these Breeders' Cup horses rebound, especially their first start off of a big win like that.
I mean, I'm going to try and beat Golden Pal because I'm psychotic and love pain. So we'll see what happens and if this time is the right time finally, because the last 2 I tried to beat him as well. I'm going to spread. I'm going to use Golden Pal, but I'm going to try and get around him because you're getting a great price on pretty much anybody else there if you're able to find any kind of value. Real quick, Bubba, what happened to the 6? Got cooked by the 8. So 57-1 shot went out there and absolutely cooked him up front. But unfortunately, the 14 was able to get done. And yeah, Ace Weckenqueue, Derby futures are still available on most legal books here in the U.S., offshore books. And Derby future pool number 5 closes at 1:30 p.m. on Saturday before the prep races. So you got a chance to bet into that future pool as well.
All right. We're trying to get Keeneland. We might just have to be a little patient here, guys. Yeah. So we'll talk Florida Derby a little bit. White Barrio was very impressive. I was singled to Classic Causeway in the contest. We were live to 12,500 in the contest, which who knows? You never know. Like woulda, shoulda, couldas. I think 19,000 ended up winning the contest, and like 14,000 was second. But those are the people that had White Barrio. You always wonder, hey, who had Classic Causeway? And the leader was at like 8,000 at the time. So I was thinking if I get to 12.5, maybe that's enough. But Classic Causeway, Charge It didn't break all that well, and Classic Causeway actually got an easy lead, but then Jose Ortiz on simplification showed speed for the first time. And I was like, what are you doing? Did you not know that that's your brother on the 2, Jose?
It was pretty interesting to see, like, because simplification showed speed 3 back when it won, but it had struggles breaking the last 2, was coming from off the pace. And actually, to me, looked better coming from off the pace than up front in this case. Classic Causeway, I read clearly just thought, okay, nope, don't have it today. Not going to use any more of this horse. We'll see what happens. Reminds me a little bit, I'm not going to say it's the same horse, reminds me a little bit of Mandaloun down in Louisiana last year, where you had this horse that ran well a couple times and then put an absolute clunker together that made no sense. Almost too bad to believe. That's kind of what I feel about Classic Causeway. Not sure what I'll do with him in the Derby. They came on pretty slow in that race. That would be my one knock against it. I think it was 13.2 for the final furlong, which isn't great. One of my favorite metrics is your last half mile in the final prep going into it. White Barrio will not have the fastest last half mile in the final prep. So the horse that I've been picking for a while on top in the Derby, now I have to kind of figure out, okay, what do I want to do? How do I want to reassess that? But I wasn't overly impressed with the Arkansas Derby or the Florida Derby last weekend.
Yeah, me neither. And, Classic Causeway coming back off of 3 weeks rest, came back pretty quickly after an effort in the Tampa Bay Derby and Sam F. Davis. And Classic Causeway actually went faster in those races than he did at Gulfstream and still was not able to sustain. So something wasn't right. Maybe he came back too quick. Maybe there was something wrong with the horse. maybe Irad's instructions with Brian Lynch were, hey, we're third place in Derby points. This is not the end all. The Kentucky Derby is the end all. We need another prep just to buy some time. We're going to give him 5 weeks rest. So if you're not going to win the race, just shut him down. I don't think he was going to win the race anyway. But yeah, that was a little disappointing to see. Charge It. That's the horse. He just broke his maiden 2-back, and now first time against winners. Pretty impressive. The fact that he didn't get the lead, and I thought Charge It was a need the lead type. And so he showed a different dimension. He's still a little green. In the stretch run, I still thought he had a chance. Saez was trying to switch leads, and he went inside, then he went back outside. And I thought maybe if Charge It wasn't so green, he might have had a chance to win that race.
Yeah, if he wasn't such a knucklehead, it would have been close.
Yeah.
And he definitely struggled with it. He also struggled around the turn. It looked like he was done, got hit once on the right side, and all of a sudden just went right back into the bit and started making a move. I think that, it's just tough to pass a horse like White Barrio who just keeps grinding. So I give credit to White Barrio, but I thought Charge It ran a heck of a race. I was not a believer in Charge It going into that race. Beauty of horse racing is you're allowed to change your opinion. I think much higher of Charge It now coming out of that race. I still think it's a tall task to ask Charge It, who's not going to make the lead in the Kentucky Derby. Let's be honest. None of those horses are going to make the lead that were in the Florida Derby and the Kentucky Derby. That's going to go to early voting, or that's going to go to Forbidden Kingdom. Yep. If he makes the Derby. So I would expect one of those two up front setting the fractions. It's going to be interesting to see what Charge It can do when navigating that big of a field. I think post position is going to matter a lot. I mean, if Charge It is hung out wide or hung inside, no thanks. If he draws well in the 8-hole, 9-hole, somewhere in there, I think he's got a shot to make some noise.
Absolutely. I'm against White Barrio going forward. If we had to kind of maybe buy and sell White Barrio for the Derby, I'd sell. I think he's ran 2 great efforts. He got a great pace scenario. It was an absolute dream trip. We got horses going up front. He just kind of sat there. I was right by the owners of White Barrio, and the one guy told us to get out of his suite, even though it wasn't his suite one time. And so that was just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But I'm not a White Barrio fan. I don't think Saffy ships anywhere outside of Gulfstream very well. If you look at his stats in Kentucky and his stats in New York, I don't see it.
Well, go check out the Racing Dudes YouTube page, because I interviewed Mike, the owner of White Barrio, last week before that race, and he was a very nice guy to me. So I don't know what you guys were doing. The thing about White Barrio and the thing about Epicenter and what makes them so dangerous to me is they make their own trip. Yes, White Barrio tripped out. You know why he tripped out? He's got tactical speed. So he's able to sit right behind the speed and then make his own trip. If he needs to go further back, he can. If he needs to be more forwardly placed, he can. Same with Epicenter. Epicenter can win wire to wire. Epicenter can win sitting behind 3 or 4 horses.
We saw that 2 weeks ago. Yep.
It's so dangerous when you're able to win in multiple ways, especially in a 20-horse field. There's only maybe 3 or 4 horses a year that can make their own trip in the Derby. And 2 of them this year are going to be White Barrio and Epicenter.
Yeah. And, I think a couple of years back of a horse like Tiz the Law, what do we always say about Tiz the Law? He made his own trip every single time. It didn't matter if he got down on the rail. He would always get out and he would make his own trip every single time, even except the Derby. Let's talk about the Shakertown Stakes. This is one of my favorite races every single year at Keeneland. I usually either go to Keeneland for opening weekend or I go for the Grade 1 gamble. Mike, I know I'm going to be there for the Grade 1 gamble. I've got a bobblehead to give to you. And so you're going to be there too, April 22nd, 23rd, 24th. It's going to be fun. But this race, this is loaded. I mean, we've got so many familiar faces, not just Golden Pal, but we got other Breeders' Cup horses. You got Just Might, Gear Jockey, Cowan, Diamond Oops, Learjet. I don't know. If I'm going to beat Golden Pal here, I think I'm going Just Might. I've been following this horse for a long time. I love Colby Hernandez. And, if Golden Pal maybe, 1 in a million doesn't break, this is the horse that I'm looking at on the lead. Okay. I don't know. Who else you got to beat this horse?
Well, look, Golden Palace is deadly. I mean, that break at the Breeders' Cup was unbelievable. There's if you go back and you watch the race, there is a palm tree that is maybe 10 feet out of the gate, and he beats everyone there by 2 lengths. It was incredible. 99 early speed is almost not fair because he's almost faster than that, and that's the highest rating we have here at Equinedge for the early speed perspective. Look, if he loses, and this is where I think you'd kind of try and take a shot at him, it's first off a layoff. It's when he may be a little tired. It's 5.5 versus 5 furlongs. It's over a track that's going to be deeper. There's going to be rain. It's supposed to snow on Saturday morning at Keeneland. So I'm going to try and beat him with a couple horses that I think are interesting. And the number one is that 9 horse, Fila di Ariana. This is the second race in North America. That first one was up at Woodbine. The internal fractions of that race were 44 and change for a half mile, and this horse was 3 lengths off it. That's very important if you're going to try and run down Golden Pal. You got to be quick early and fast late. They came home in sub-12s. This horse was able to make up ground coming home in sub-12s. I thought that was very impressive. And you know who takes this mount? My boy, Luis Saez. You know who's Saez? He left Gear Jockey to take this mount. That to me, that tells me that Filo de Arena is ready to fire. I think this horse at 12 to 1 is a good value. 15 to 1 is nice as well. You got to beat someone in this pick 5. It starts out with Nashville. You got Golden Pal here. You're going to have Smile Happy and the 4-horse Zendon in the last race. All heavy favorites. We got to get around some of them. I think that this race specifically, and I think the Bluegrass are races where you can find prices. So the 9 was the other horse I was really interested in. I'll probably sprinkle a little Gear Jockey and a little Learjet in there as well.
Good. Yeah, and then the thing about Filo de Arana is it's coming out of Woodbine, so it's used to the snow. It's used to the cold weather. And you know, these horses that are coming up from the south, like, you know, Florida versus Woodbine versus Keeneland in the spring, you don't know what you're going to get. The horses love the cooler weather, though. But if we're pace handicapping this, you got to take somebody from off the pace. You know, it's none of these horses can hang in Golden Pal's league if you're a speed horse. You know, it's kind of like going against Life is Good if you want to try to, you know, look what happened in Nick's Go, you know, in the Pegasus. So, you know, Golden Pal, it's either a free square or you got to try to beat him with somebody off the pace, I think. Let's not forget, you got 5 to 2 on Golden Pal at the Breeders' Cup. I mean, think about it. What's you're saying, Mike? Remember when we got 3 to 1 on Nick's Go? You know, remember when we got 5 to 2 on Golden Pal? I mean,
it was almost to remember when we got 7 to 2 on Way to Barrio before he got hammered walking into the gate. Because I couldn't believe that we were going to get 7 to 2 on that horse. So I thought it was a pretty clear cut horse there. And you hit the nail on the head, man. Like if Just Might wins, Just Might has to outbreak Golden Pal, which no one has ever done, or has to do something he's not comfortable with, and that's pretty difficult to do. And it's why, you know, if I'm going to try and beat Golden Pal, I'm going to do it with someone below. Now, when I play press tickets, and this is a great ladder scenario to me. I'm going to play a 50-cent pick 5. Mm-hmm. I will not single Golden Pal in that 50-cent pick 5. I'll spread a little bit there. I'll probably play a $2 pick 5. I'll probably go too deep here with the 9 and the 10. I will play a $5 pick 5. I'll probably single Golden Pal in that one. And that's my way of being able to, you know, since Golden Pal is my top pick, but is awfully chalky, I'm going to try and press on the denomination and then have smaller denominations underneath, which balloon up. Because I would rather the $2 hits with the 9 than the $5 with the 10, because it's going to pay tons more if I'm right. But I want to make sure that if Golden Pal does win, if he is that free square, I've got the most money on that free square.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mike brings up ticket structure there. Ticket structure 101 there. Tiering your tickets where you have different denominations. Use the lowest denomination where you're spreading to try to beat these favorites. But, you know, if you're going $2 or you're going $5, you're going $10 denominations, then, you know, you got to look at, hey, if I'm going to get through skinny, where do I need to get through? Where's the most likely winner at? And so that's where we try to play these hammer tickets. You know, that's kind of my MO, you know, with the pick 3s. That's my favorite bet's the pick 3. And I can't afford to spread like you can in a pick 5 or a pick 6. You know, the most I ever go is maybe 3 or 4 deep in a pick 3 leg with 2 other singles. And so, you know, with your plan, your $5 ticket where you're going to have maybe 2 or 3 or 4 singles, the 50-cent ticket, it's like, okay, everybody's singling Golden Pal. And so, you know, if you single Golden Pal and that's your only single, you're not trying to beat that horse, then the pick 5 is not going to pay what you want it to pay. You know, so many times it's like these guys, they try so hard to hit these pick 5s. And then when they hit them, they're like, yeah, okay, I singled 2 to 5 shots. And why did it only pay $276?
Yeah. Well, you singled 2 to 5 shots and you did it at a big track. Like that's the other part of it where, like, look, a 20 to 1 at Keeneland doesn't have as much value as a 21 at Sam Houston, because there's less tickets at Sam Houston. So you're going to see a heavier percentage on those favorites at tracks like that. So people don't realize that, you know, a 20 to 1 at Sam Houston to pick 5 plays like a 40 to 1 shot, where a 20 to 1 shot at Keeneland often plays like 25 to 1 or 30 to 1. So you're seeing different values for these horses depending on the tracks you're playing as well. And you got to take that into account when you're working on ticket construction and how you're trying to get paid on these.
Absolutely. Let's take a look at the Bluegrass real quick here. I refresh this and get the Bluegrass up. You know, we're here. We're here to the last, almost the last weekend of Derby preps, and then it's going to be all systems go. We'll know all the point totals and who's going. That way we'll be able to start, you know, formulating, hey, okay, when we get closer to the post draw, where do we want to be? What kind of trip? What kind of price do I want on these horses? And so this crop reminds me a lot of 2019, Mike, where there was like 5, 6, 7 horses that I can mention that all were kind of good, but we didn't know who was elite. And I feel like we still don't know who's elite. In that 2019 crop, we had Maximum Security, Tacitus, Code of Honor, Game Winner, Improbable, War of Will. And so now it's kind of like, all right, we've kind of got that same type of crop, in my opinion.
We're not going to see a short price favorite in the Derby. I'll tell you that much. I mean, no matter what happens this Saturday, you're not going to see any single horse get that hammered. Epicenter is going to get bet. The winner of the San Diego Derby is going to get bet. White Barrio is going to get bet. If Mo Donegal or Zandon win or Smile Happy wins, they're going to get bet. You have 4 or 5 horses fighting for that 5-1 favoritism, which means it's an absolutely great betting race. I think it's going to be interesting. This race, and if you listen to the Magic Mike show, we covered the all stakes pick 4 for Keeneland. The Bluegrass to me is just a headache. Every metric I have, everything says this is 10-4 cold, that it's Smile Happy over Zandon cold, except for the eye test where I hate both these horses. So it's like I'm sitting here with different metrics where I don't necessarily trust everything I'm seeing, and I don't trust the pace in that race either. I can't for the life of me figure out who it's going to be. I think it's going to be Fenwick, and so I'm including Fenwick in everything. I'm probably going 5, 6, 7 deep in all my tickets in this race because I don't trust the horses that I'm coming up with. I don't distrust them enough to leave them off, but I don't trust them enough to go very short. And it's going to be tough for me because I got to figure out, do I press with Smile Happy and Zandon, or do I try and beat them? The problem is the next 2 logical horses are 2 Pletchers that I don't trust at all either.
I don't trust any Pletcher 3-year-old right now. I mean, he's gone cold. It's like when we were in January, it was Todd Pletcher was the most loaded out of everybody because of the Baffert situation. I mean, you had a bunch of these horses. You had Mo Donegal, you had Charge It, Command and Performance, who's actually coming back now. And so I don't know what to make of that. And what's interesting is Rosario is actually going to New York this weekend to ride a bunch of Pletcher horses. And Ortiz is staying, Irad is staying at Keeneland, where you would have thought he would have been the guy to go into New York to ride Mo Donegal and some other horses. But no, that's Rosario. And Irad's staying on Command and Performance, who has still not broke his maiden.
I think he's staying for Golden Pal and then filled out his card after that. I think that was the reason that he stuck around. Let's jump over to Sam Houston here. We got about 3 minutes left until the 7th race. So we'll talk about this, and we can jump into the last couple there at Keeneland, maybe talk a little San Diego Derby as well, and obviously the Wood Memorial too. I am pressed through the 8, and I have the 7-8 here on most tickets. 8's getting bet like we expected, down to 3-5 here. This is a Broberg off the claim coming from Fairgrounds. As you can see, the Equinedge win percentage and the EE pick both agree with us. 3-5 is a little short. I probably wouldn't be betting a win bet here. But I do think if you want to start pick 3s, you could single through the 8 for a press number and then play maybe 7-8 for a little less, or play 8 heavy and 8 and 7 softer. But I think that this is probably the correct order with that 7-8-5 even for the tribe.
Yeah, here we are. Here we are with the EE morning line being spot on again here with Tin Badge. 3-1 EE, currently 4-1. Yeah. And so, I mean, the system sees it. I don't necessarily see it with the 5, but it is a price play as well. And the live odds are, but as we know, those can change in an instant, in one click.
Especially a smaller track. The 5's interesting because it's past form on dirt versus the current form that you're expecting from a horse, right? And to me, that's one of the toughest parts of handicapping. It's if the 5 runs back, and we don't even go deep enough in the PPs here. I'm talking back to 2000. Mm-hmm. The 5 could air this field, but you know what? I really want a horse that I have to point back 18 months to say that's why I want to bet this horse at 3-1. To me, that's awfully tough. Mm-hmm. This is one of those races where I don't really want to bet very much money on it. I want to play it in multis and single the 8, maybe play a little 7-8 and some stuff. But for my money, this isn't a race where I think you can single hammer it. By that, I mean like play big time exactas, big time tries. Mm-hmm. I don't see that much value here.
Yeah. And I like this new feature where you can go lifetime starts versus just 6 months. You can compare recent form to the whole thing. And so, there's very few trainers that I trust over like a year layoff. Chad Brown's one of them. He can get a horse ready off of any kind of layoff. But like most trainers, it's kind of hard. You usually need a race or so. And so, when I learned how to handicap, I would always cross off any races that were like over a year old if they were on different surfaces. And so this kind of helps you do that with just 6 months recency. We only have 1 second place finish. And we've been going against similar, maybe a little bit better competition than what Tin Badge is facing today. But
again, you got to remember those are dirt races. Those dirt races were turf races that came off, and so it's just it's a really muddy form where like I don't have a single race I can point to as a comparable data point in the last 16 months for the 5-horse. And that's what makes him such a tough anomaly here, especially when you don't have a ton of pace and your best two horses are going to be coming from the back of the pack.
Yep, exactly. You know, the Rosie's Outlaw, the 7, that's the second pick here. This horse takes money. It takes attention. You get Elliott, but you get Eccleberry off. I'm guessing Eccleberry chose to ride the 8 over the 7 horse. You know, a lot of people get, I mean, I'm one of them where the whole jockey musical chairs thing comes into play. It's like, oh, why is this jockey not on that one? Well, maybe that guy was supposed to be out of town this day and this was the only amount to pick up. Or maybe it's the agents. Who knows? There's a lot of stuff that happens behind the scenes that we have no idea why, or, you know, why things are happening the way they are.
And this is an interesting one too. This horse was claimed out of that start 2 back and switched barns out of End Zone Athletics into a new barn. And End Zone Athletics is Carl Broberg, who claimed the 8 out of Fairgrounds, and his go-to guy is Rye Eccleberry. So I think that's one of the main reasons you see him on the 8 here and leaving the 7. And the barn switch, I think, is something you gotta look at. I mean, the Dupree barn is 10%, currently 3% at Sam Houston, leaving a 20% barn on out of the Broberg barn. So a big time barn switch here too from the 7's perspective, and not in a good way, in a negative way. So makes it harder to swallow that 5-2 and makes you like the 8 who's going with from a negative, doing a positive barn switch versus the 7 going to a negative barn switch.
Absolutely. Looks like they're getting a little bit closer to the gate. Dustin Johnson, 3 under. That sucks.
Yeah, he did not birdie either of the par 5s on the backside, and then bogeyed 17 and ripped the heart out of my chest here as my first Masters bet. So what can you do? I'm not a big golf better guy, but you know, it's on, and take a little shot.
Have you ever been to Augusta?
I haven't, man. I'm looking at you. I have tried. I've been in the lottery the last 15 years, and me and my 3 relatives, all 4 of us enter every year. We're 0 for 60, the ultimate career maidens for getting Masters tickets. So I would love to go to Augusta eventually, and I'm not. I think I got to finagle my way in, to be honest. So if anyone watching this has a hookup at Augusta, I'm your boy. Let's do this.
Dude, 0 for 16. Time to, get LASIX or switch trainers or something, man. I mean, you got to make a change. I saw on StubHub, some of the practice round tickets were like $1,600 this year. I went in 2014, and they were given to my grandfather as a retirement gift by somebody who won them in the lottery. He had already had like spring break plans. Like, oh, you want to go to Augusta? Yeah, sure. Thanks for working here for 46 years. And so we went. They were only $500 on the open market, but now they're like $1,600. It's ridiculous.
It's pretty crazy. And Bubba's dead on here. We got some late money jumping in here on the 1 horse. The 7 horse here taking a little bit of money. 4 to 5 actually starting to get to a little bit more of a fair number on the 8. I think even money 6 to 5 is probably the fair price here. I would expect the 8 wins this race about half the time. So we'll see what happens here. Yeah, look, man, if I'm ever up in Canada, I'll ask for some of those Tim Horton hockey cards.
There you go. All right, looks like 8's going to hold favoritism here at 4 to 5. Looks like they're all ready to go. Oh, somebody stumbled at the start. Was that the 3 or was that the
I think 5? It was the 3. Yeah.
Yeah, that 3's kind of pulling back a little bit.
And the 8 broke really well considering where we expected. We thought he'd be sitting in last, ends up here sitting in 4th spot. 1 rushes up on the inside, and it is your pace. So we'll see if the 1's
There's
able
the
to hold
pace
on.
number, spot on right there with Dreams of Valor at 69 pace. Has an easy, or not an easy lead, getting pressed a little bit, but I'd say this 8's probably getting a dream trip at 6 to 5. 3 horse, unfortunately, it was a stumble at the start, but let's see, 23 and 4, or 22 and 4 is what we went the opening quarter. It looks like this 1's pretty comfortable up front right now. 8's going to start making a move here soon if he wants to get in this.
We would hope so, but he's pumping, and you're not seeing that move that you would like to see from the 8. We'll see if he kind of catches gear later here. Now going to kind of cut to the inside, you'd think, of this 5. Nope, he's going to swing out wide. 7's trying to run down this 1 as well, but the 1's looking awfully dangerous up front here to go gate to wire.
Come on, see if we can stop here. The 8's trying late, but it might be too late for this 8. Oh, here he goes.
Come on with this 8.
He's putting it into hyperdrive.
Come on with this 8.
Come on with this 8.
Oh, easy winner. Never in doubt. Never in doubt.
Let's go. Oh, here we go. We got the lock in town. Wire this. Mark took the video when we were at Dylan's house for the big pick 5. What's up, Mark?
I mean, that was a straight Ernie Banker closing move there.
That
I didn't.
was an Ernie Banker. That's just how you got to play Sam Houston. Figure out who's got the late kick in the last 3 strides. That's all that matters.
That horse looked as dead as Ernie Banker did, and it fired there. Bubba, nice exacted there. I hope you had a piece of it. 8-1 pays $12. That's a solid price there.
Nice.
With,
no excuse for the one there. I mean, they went 22, 46, and 3. He was fine. He was comfortable in the lead. At this point, I thought the race was over, and I thought the 8 was running for second. But just like Ernie Banker did, it's like does he switch leads, or what does he do? No, he just grinds him down. Well,
I mean, this horse is the last 2. So this is that one horse there. This is the 7th at Sam Houston. That one horse is first off a layoff, hasn't run since April 2021, so almost a full year off the layoff. And his last 2 races were 5 furlongs turf sprint. So that 6th furlong definitely got him sucking a little wind there, and luckily hit the Sam Houston wall, and the 8 was able to go right on by.
No, absolutely. 8-1 cold there. But, hey, we're alive. It saves the ticket. Otherwise, we would have been toast, but we're not. We're alive. Hopefully you guys had that as well in the chat. I see some booms in the chat. That's good. That's good. All right, guys. Well, we've got a few more minutes left. Mike, do you want to talk about Santa Anita Derby first, and then maybe we can hit the Wood Memorial?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
Okay, let's see if I can get my computer to load. It's funny, my internet provider just said that they're tripling the speed at no extra cost starting April 1, but I beg to differ.
Yeah,
it's been slower.
I have to check that out. What's up, Mark? How's it going, man? Oakbrook OTV. That was my jam. My dad used to take me there. One of my favorite stories growing up. I was 7 years old. This just tells you how I grew up into this. 7 years old, and my dad was hosting a party he was a partner at Deloitte & Touche, and I had a couple friends over. I smashed my eyebrow open on a flower pot. My dad takes me to the hospital to get 10 stitches, and his way of cheering me up was to take me to Oakbrook OTB and give me $40 to bet the show. So that's how I grew up and got into horse racing. As you injure yourself, you need to get happy. Just go to the OTB and bet some ponies.
There you go. That's awesome. Everybody's got a story about how they got into horse racing. And I got to know Mark last weekend. He's a Chicago guy. I'm Northwest Indiana guy. And so we had a great weekend, man. It was awesome. We got a good group down there. I ran into Scotty as I was leaving the track. He was in 10 Palms. We were in the contest room. And so I got to see a lot of equine edge people last weekend too. This is the Santa Anita Derby. This is interesting because no horses are technically trained by Bob Baffert. Just, a couple of them.
So we're calling them Yaffords. That's the
Yaffords.
They're all Yafford horses because they're clearly Bob Baffert still, but we just got a different trainer name. So these are the 3 Yafford horses here.
Yeah, and this Tabia horse is kind of the buzz one right now. It's kind of the one getting the most attention. Forbidden Kingdom is an absolute speedball here for Richard Mandela, and we know what we're going to get there. Forbidden Kingdom still needs points, I believe. I don't think that's a lock. Messier needs points. You've got some solid horses here that may not make the gate. I know Tabia needs points as well. This is interesting because we don't know how these Baffert horses are going to run. We saw what Doppelganger didn't do last weekend in Arkansas. That was pretty disappointing. And so you got to wonder, okay, with the barn switch a month later away from Baffert in the Actine barn or the Rudolph Brissett barn, how are you treating these ex-Baffert horses?
I'm treating them like they're Baffert horses because let's just be honest. I mean, you have the comment down here. We all know Jimmy Barnes is training him from Curtis. I mean, I would kind of tend to agree with that this is still, Baffert and Barnes that are planning and everything out. And you got to remember that Yaktine was a Baffert assistant before going out on his own. So, I mean, he's someone who I believe punched someone at a Clocker's Corner because they were making fun of Baffert. So Yaktine is in the Baffert bag here. And I think you got to remember that as we go through this process. I think this race is going to be determined on whether or not the Equinedge pace number is right or wrong here. I would tend to disagree with it in this case. I think Tabia is a lot faster than that. I think 68 is probably a little bit low. And this is a tough spot for Equinedge because this is Tabia's second race. We don't really know. And that one start was a maiden special weight, a sprint, where the horse went 22 and change, 45 and change, I believe. If Tabia goes 22.45 and Forbidden Kingdom has to do that, Messier going to roll right on by both of them. So it's going to be awfully interesting what the early fractions are here, because if Forbidden Kingdom gets to walk, see you later, right? And we've seen that movie twice. The question is whether or not Forbidden Kingdom will get to walk.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look at the breeding in this race. You got American Pharaoh, you got a Gun Runner, Empire Maker, and this race is absolutely loaded. It's unfortunate that only one of these or two of these horses will make the Derby gate. And not all three, because I think Forbidden Kingdom, Tavia and Messier could make some noise in Kentucky, but we're not going to get all of them, it looks like. There's another Yak-Teen horse in here. Is this a rabbit?
Look, I thought
trying to figure out why this one's in there.
I thought Armagnac was a rabbit last time, and Velasquez tried to get Armagnac to go, and he wasn't fast enough. And then Velasquez stopped trying. I was surprised that they didn't quarter horse this horse out of the gate, just to absolutely make Forbidden Kingdom go to the floorboard with his horse as well. We'll see what's going on. It makes no sense that Armagnac is in this race if you're not rabbiting him. Like, I just don't get what else. He's not good enough to win the race if he's not on the lead.
Yeah. So it is a rabbit. Starlight Racing, Manicat Stables, same owner as Messier. There you go. But Tavia wants to lead.
He was supposed to be a rabbit for Doppelganger last time, and he wasn't fast enough. And so that's the question is, how much are they going to push this horse out of the gate? You got Drayden Van Dyke up versus Velasquez last time. To me, this is just 100%. We are sending this horse and seeing what happens. But I'm not sure if that's even going to, if he's fast enough, even if they do that.
Curtis has got some good ones today. Curtis, you're spot on, man.
This is interesting race.
I agree with Mike. I think if Forbidden Kingdom is actually as fast as what the pace number says. Now, I think that's why you got to use the number and interpret it. Okay, Tavia was a 68 against his group on one start, his maiden breaking start. Forbidden Kingdom's had 5 starts and has been able to grow and mature and go 2 turns. And so the pace numbers are going to be a little bit skewed because of that. So that's why you got to look into it, not just use the number, but use it to your advantage when you're handicapping. This is a race I'm just going to watch. I probably won't be betting this race. I got to think Messier is probably the best horse in the race. But, I can't bet Baffert and Johnny B. So there's that.
It's tough. The Santa Anita, they're not able to get big fields, and this whole day is marred by 5 and 6 horse fields. So it's tough to even play the multis here unless you're really pressing through, playing $5 tickets and playing it for 2 singles or 3 singles and 2 doubles. So you're playing $20, $40, or $60 pick 5 tickets. That's how you're going to make money at Santa Anita on Saturday. You're going to have to press through press, and that's tough because, man, if you're wrong once, it's over.
Welcome to my horse racing world. I almost hit the pick 3 900 times if Classic Causeway would have won on Saturday, but I didn't.
I wish I could have talked you off Classic Causeway.
I know you had a future on him though at 70 to 1 or something like that. That was nice.
I've got him sitting at 50 to 1 and 75 to 1 for a little chunk of change. And honestly, if anyone is watching, one of the things that you can do on Saturday, if you look at your local sports book that's legal in the U.S., or if you're playing overseas because you got something like that, they generally don't change the odds right when they cross the wire.
Right.
And so if you want to hunt for a price, the best time to do it is literally in the final furlong of the race. And I think that's interesting this weekend, specifically at Keeneland and in New York. If you have certain horses, Mo Donegal, who's 25 to 1 in most fixed odds books right now, or someone like Emmanuel, who's 25 to 1 in fixed odds books, or Smile Happy, who's 16 to 1 to 20 to 1 in fixed odds books. If any of them run huge, that price will go from that to half, maybe a third of what the number is currently on the board, and you may be able to sneak one in.
Yeah. Whoever wins every prep, if there's a prep at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and 6 o'clock, whoever wins that race is going to be the most heavily bet horse in that hour. And so it's just how it works. Here's another pace scenario in the Wood Memorial early voting. This horse is fast.
Yes.
This is the Chad Brown runner, Jose Ortiz, great gate jockey. And this is the 3rd start, lifetime, has not even really been tested yet. And so now we're going in against a little bit better company. The SOR jumps from a 66 to an 82. That's just called the Derby Trail. That's what you're going to go against. You're going to go against all these winners that are also trying to get in the gate. I'm done with Mo Donegal. If he beats me on Saturday, he beats me on Saturday. I don't know what kind of ride I'm going to get from Rosario, but this horse he's had his chances. He won in New York 2 back, and so now they're sending him back up to New York maybe after Gulfstream didn't work out so well. This horse really doesn't break that well from the gate. And so, Pletcher had another horse last summer as a 2-year-old. What was that horse's name?
Wit.
I think I can't remember off the top of my head, but this horse was
it was Wit.
Awesome. What's that?
Wit.
Horse could not break out of the gate whatsoever. Very talented horse, but if you spot the field 10 lengths, 5 lengths, I'm sorry. Doesn't matter how good you are. You're not going to win. And so I worry the same thing for Mo Donegal.
I mean, Mo Donegal to me is known agenda 2.0. We saw him last year on the Derby Trail get a bunch of buzz because he ran into close some ground in Florida, was able to run up and get, I think it was second in a prep, and it's similar to what Mo Donegal did last time, getting third in a prep. Then known agenda draws the rail, still gets bet down in the Derby. To me, Mo Donegal is known agenda 2.0. I don't want much of this horse, and I don't, it's going to be the right pace setup here. Like if early voting, who's going to go, if he collapses, if there's a couple other pressers, and I think long-term Golden Coat and Morello actually all could go here. I think you could see up to 4 horses that want to kind of stack up or be very close to the lead. If all 4 of them are pushing, you could see a situation here where the pace falls apart. But if it does, give me the 6 Skippy Longstocking at 15-1 on the morning line. I'm more interested in this horse who's shown the ability to close from off the pace at a mile and a 16th. It's a big step up in class. It's a pace meltdown play. But I think that is a viable situation here where the pace could absolutely fall apart. I like early voting. I think he wires his field. But if I'm taking someone from the back, I'm taking a price, not the chalk.
Yep. There you go. And Aqueduct, it can be kind of a hard place to go gate to wire sometimes. I see a lot of horses get run down, kind of like the Sam Houston stretch where, you're at the 16th pole. Well, this race isn't over yet. And so a lot of fun.
No, it's not.
A fun Saturday, 3 of these huge preps for the Derby. Masters, now college basketball's over, but we got baseball back. Life is just good. So
except if your life is good.
Funny, I'm at dinner on Thursday night in Delray Beach, and guess who walks in? Elliot Waldman. And he sat at the table right next to us, and he still had his Life is Good hat on. We're like, you just won $12 million on Country Grammar. You're wearing your Life is Good hat, just like he was in the interview.
Did you ask about it?
No, I didn't. I mean, I'm usually that guy, but I decided not to be that
I know,
guy.
that's why I asked.
Because I'm that guy. So, all right, guys. Well, that was fun. We're still alive in the Pick 4 ticket. Looks like we got another 8 minutes to go. But good luck to everybody this weekend, whether you're playing Keeneland, whether you're playing Aqueduct for the Wood, or whether you're playing Santa Anita, or whether you're going to back somebody in the Masters. Let us know who you guys have. We'll be back probably next Wednesday or Thursday for some live racing. So good luck if you're betting the good chalk or you're fading the bad chalk. We'll see you next week.